everyone, it's Erin Hines with Gaston Natural Classroom. On the day I'm filming this, there's about a week and a half to maybe 2 weeks left of school, and I believe grades are in. So this week I'm just going to demonstrate a more lighthearted game, something to get students thinking, but mostly just having fun. Teachers, if you want to incorporate this later into the classroom, there are plenty of extensions that I will go over at the end. Today's activity is taken from a national curriculum called Food, Land, and People. This curriculum is all about fostering a stronger connection between people and the food that they eat, from production to consumption. Many of the activities reinforce how dependent we are on the natural world for healthy food and incorporate interdisciplinary subjects such as language arts and social studies. Today's activity is called Expression Connections. It's a word association game with potential language arts extensions. The idea is to help students make new associations with familiar concepts about farming, the environment, and us. To introduce this lesson, have your students come up with a farm story to share. This can be from personal experience, family history, or an article or book they've read. This will help prime their brains to generate connections between farms and people. Since I'm educating virtually at this time, like the rest of our nation, I enlisted the help of my family to demonstrate this game. To start with, I asked them to share a farm story. Spoiler, we're a farming family, so there were no shortage of farm stories. Here are some highlights.
So when we first started growing tomatoes as a farm, I was 15 and I decided to take home growing and planting them. It really surprised you for the first time how fast things can ripen up on you. You never quite can tell when all the fruit that you see is suddenly going to turn ripe. And that's something I certainly learned that year. It was coming into mid-June, we were starting to pick tomatoes. We were getting about 25 pounds at a time. And one Sunday, it was the day that we were going to pick, but I wanted to play tennis. So I went and played tennis with my uncle, and I made a deal with my cousin Jared saying that he could keep all the profit for all the tomatoes he picked. Well, that was the first big picking on the tomatoes, and you know, even though we'd only been picking 25 pounds at a time, that day there were 500 pounds.
In school, they always taught me the flour and the parts of the flour. I just memorized the terms and didn't really have any clue what they were talking about. But if you look at the flowers on the farm, like the squash and the strawberries, you can see that first there's a flower, and then at the very end of the flower where the ovary is, it slowly grows into a little squash, and then eventually it's a big squash, and then the flower falls off.
First thing I remember about the farm is picking veggies when it was like 103 degrees outside. It was my first day on the farm, and it was just so hot, and I thought I was dating Ethan's sister at the time, and I just thought he was trying to break me in.
I learned to drive on a tractor, basically, and so I'd be mowing with the tractor, and you know, I might hit an irrigation line, and in the beginning, you know, you're frustrated, you're scared that Grandpa might be mad, but really, he would always just say, he's like, I don't care if you hit an irrigation line, but the thing you gotta do is tell me about it, and then help me fix it, because then, you know, we don't lose a lot of water. So that was basically like a life lesson from Grandpa.
So, when you pick strawberries, do you pick red strawberries or green strawberries?
All red strawberries.
Only red strawberries?
All red strawberries.
Do they taste better?
Yes. They taste better.
Do you like to pick strawberries?
Yes.
What else do you like to pick?
Oh, so big to pick.
You like blackberries?
No. Yeah. Berries. They're juicy.
They are juicy.
They're so juicy. They're so juicy.
So juicy. Now to the game. The premise is similar to categories. Using this worksheet, you will fill in as many words as you can think of in each box, beginning with the letter of each row. Each column is a different subject, so your words have to be associated with the subject of each column. Teachers, you can choose to use the subjects food, land, people, and you, or agriculture, environment, diverse cultures, and you for older students. You can also split your class up and have them work in groups of 3 to 5. For my family, I went with the more advanced words and every man or woman for themselves. You can also set a time limit, such as 15 minutes to work on the whole sheet. I gave my family 3 minutes per column. So before we get started, I have a couple of disclaimers. First, while we were playing, we were also trying to wrangle 3 children, including a fur baby, which resulted in background noise and Ethan only making it through round 1. Also, my family's kind of competitive and had a lot of really specific questions about the rules. Anyway.
Wait, can it also be expanded?
Get
out of here.
Farmer!
I don't like that she's getting points for both farm and farm.
By the end of it, we were flipping coasters to make calls.
So, this is skunk side up or facts side up.
Okay.
So you call it in the air.
Okay. Skunk. And I'll give a rundown of these questions at the end so you can be more prepared to answer them than I was. Anyway, here's how it went for us. And begin.
I can't think.
I know, I'm sorry.
There's all things alive.
You're okay. You're okay.
I just draw it. I just draw Patsy.
So we
You're
said
gonna draw Patsy.
It's Patsy.
Oh, show me Patsy. And actually, in abstract art, looks a whole lot like Patsy.
I can't think of anything.
And stop.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think very well either.
3.
We totaled round 1 separately to make sure everyone understood the process, and then played the following rounds back to back, totaling at the end. When scoring, points are given for any word written in the box. 10 points are given for words that no one else wrote, and 5 points are given for words that at least one other person also wrote.
Family farm. Aquaculture. Rotation. Mill.
I have that.
aerate.
What's it?
How did I miss that?
Okay.
Irrigate.
I have that one. I have freeze. I have avocado and egg. I have mildew.
Wait, how does mildew have, oh right.
It's a common
yeah.
disease of many plants.
And I have faster.
Faster? What's that?
I said, do it faster. We have a lot to do.
I mean, what does the group think on that?
I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Forestry. Aquatics. Animals.
How did I not think of anything? Not flocculating.
That's really good. I'm guessing that's a 10-pointer.
Have food.
Okay.
Real erosion. Recycle. Reduce.
Reuse under there. I have Aboriginal, Indigenous, Goulash.
Goulash.
Gosh, what is goulash? Oh, the soup from Russia.
Yeah.
You thought of goulash.
I have no idea why. All I had was flock. That's all I could
Flock?
think of.
What does that have to do
Yeah,
with
like a flock of people. Alright.
Faith. Accents. Rhythm. Music. Guitar.
Frisbee. Red. My favorite color. Me. I can't read that.
Starts with a G.
Games. Starts with G. I like games. Starts.
I have rare. I'm quite rare.
Anybody else put friends?
Nope.
Okay.
I got no friends.
Mom.
Gotcha.
Mother. I
Okay.
considered putting mommy, but I
I would have been out on that.
All right, so let's total this up here. So the resounding winner is Frankie.
I mean, did Ethan get in the first round?
And that's it. Pretty simple, but if you like games like my family does, it can be a lot of fun. I added a Q&A section in the description below this video covering the questions that came up about rules during the game, as well as my suggestions for how to address them. I also included some wrap-up questions for group discussions below that. If you want to add in language arts extensions, you can provide dictionaries and thesauruses and give students an additional few minutes to add more words using these resources. You can also have students use their words to write different types of poetry, create crossword puzzles, or write a theme paper on farming. See you next week, and I hope you have as much fun with this as I did.